Welcome to the Crown Council Mentor of the Month program. This is Steve Anderson. We're excited to have a new addition to the Mentor of the Month, and I believe this will be a first. So I'm delighted to introduce Dr. Erin Beveridge, who is the Crown Council Young Dentist of the Year for 2018. So congratulations, Erin, on that most recent honor.
Thank you.
We're excited to have you with us today. Let me just give everybody a little bit of background. Erin graduated from Marquette University School of Dentistry in 2017. Before that, she was a graduate of Westmont College in Montecito, California, and majored in cellular and molecular biology with a chemistry minor. This is one smart woman. And is originally from California as well, and now practices. And this will be part of our conversation today. She practices with her dad, Dr. Stephen Beveridge, who's been part of the Crown Council for many years. And this is a woman who, outside of dentistry, is very, very active. And this will be a major point that we'll talk about. Loves to exercise, run, hike, cook, spends time with her family, loves the community of Los Gatos, California, where she lives. So she's now practicing in the town where she grew up, a hometown girl.
Yes.
So Erin, we're delighted to have you with us. So thank you for being our Mentor of the Month, and congratulations on being the Young Dentist of the Year for the Crown Council.
Well, thank you so much. Both are such an honor, and I've been a Crown Council member for a few years, and I've been going to some of the meetings since I think the first time I went I was 11. So the impacts that
you were raised on this stuff
had on my life and career choice, and my outlook has been astounding. So I'm really, really excited about today.
So let's go back to 11, if you don't mind, or before, and talk to us a little bit about what inspired you to pursue dentistry. Obviously a great dentist dad who influenced you some, and I'm sure there were a lot of other factors. So tell us about that.
Yeah, so dentistry runs deep in my family. My grandpa's a dentist as well. He's retired. He actually started the office that my dad and I both work at now 52 years ago, in 67.
So you're
his
Gen
dad, yeah, and his dad was a dentist too. So so first female dentist.
Nice.
I had thought about so many other things, and growing up, I was always so fortunate because my dad was around a lot, and he would come home and you could tell that he had worked hard but felt really fulfilled and proud to be doing what he was doing. And he loved working with his patients. We'd run into his patients all over, this town. Silicon Valley's busy, but the town we live in certain ways still has small town feel to it. And so we'd run into people, and I could tell he's just was making an impact daily, and that kind of got my mind going that dentistry would maybe be something that I could fall in love with.
Nice.
So, yeah.
You knew you were not anonymous growing up.
No, no, definitely not. And people would ask, they'd say, oh, you're going to be, are you going to become a dentist? And, I think it's what made me really kind of hone in and really critically think if that's what I wanted. I guess I walked into a neighbor's house. We moved into my parents' house when I was 6 years old, introduced myself, and I just said, hi, I'm Erin. I'm going to be a dentist, and nice to meet you. So it's something that I think I set my mind on early, and then the more I learned about it, and as I've gotten older, I've learned the challenges of it, but how I can turn those challenges into kind of exciting ways to grow. I've always been curious. I've loved learning. I like working with my hands, and my dad is the same way. He's always building things and fixing things, and dentistry lets you combine, working with people, working with your hands, working with science. I've always loved learning about science and reading about it and genetics, and it lets you combine all these different passions into one exciting, career and exciting days. So
you are obviously very smart. I don't say that to patronize you, but anybody who majors in molecular biology with a chemistry minor you don't make it through college without having some brains on top of that. What, if any, challenges did you feel like you had in the process of working towards dental school before you ever got in?
Yeah. I think it's funny that you ask that, because people always say, oh, looking at your background, you must be smart. And I think sometimes you say, no. And my husband said, you got to be able to, accept the fact that you worked hard and that you're able to learn these things. But I have to say, I didn't get to that point with, I don't think, just being naturally intelligent. I've had so much support throughout my life from parents, from tutors, and just other classmates. Like even going through high school, forming study groups, I tell young people who want to go into the medical profession or want to achieve a goal that you're probably not going to do this on your own. So being able to say early on, hey, I need help, recognize, hey, I need to learn how to learn. I think that's probably the most important thing, and learn how to overcome failure. I think a lot of people, I was not the student who got all the way through school without failing a test or not doing as well as I wanted on a project. And I think knowing, hey, I can go to professors, or now at this level, if I'm a dentist, there's something I'm challenged by, I can go to this group of other dentists and know someone else has faced this. You say copy genius. And so you see someone else succeeding in an aspect of life and you go to them. And so I think throughout different academic phases or of my academic career, I've been fortunate enough to try to surround myself with people that I knew could help further me and encourage me and help me grow. So
in addition to your parents and your grandfather, specifically, tell us who you would list as your biggest mentors that you had on your journey to dental school.
Okay, I guess we could start young, kind of thinking from the beginning. And it's funny because I don't know if I've ever told all of these people that they are potential, that they've been mentors to me, but I'll tell them now that I'm going to list them on a podcast. There's a friend we have down the street. His name is George, and he's a family friend of ours and worked for some biotech companies and saw that I had an interest in genetics and learning about, when the human genome was being decoded and all of these things. And at the time I was, probably 12, 13 years old. I didn't realize this person was high up in a corporate career, but he saw that I had an interest and would, bring me the Nature magazines, and he's family friends, so would help kind of tutor me in different classes with, friends of my parents and everything. And having those adults around you who really believe in you, I think now looking back, I can see the impact that had. And so I'd say that was probably an early mentor of someone besides my parents who was an adult who believed in me. As far as, I've had so many great teachers. There's a few professors in college that were realistic with me about potential challenges. I didn't have the highest GPA in college. I worked hard, but I wasn't maybe as naturally skilled at some of the standardized testing components. And they said, we got to shoot for dental school, but let's think about some of these other things. Let's really figure out, what are your gifts? What are you good at? What do you love? And let's try to look at other avenues as we continue to pursue dentistry, which ultimately helped me in my dental career. I worked as a diabetes research assistant doing clinical trials before dental school. I took a little bit of time off, and the organic biology or chemistry teacher was the one who encouraged me to pursue that. And ultimately working with patients there helped me so much in my clinical study in dental school, being able to communicate with patients and talk about health histories. And you see these small things that maybe felt like failures, taking time off from, before dental school because I thought maybe I couldn't get in right away, and then seeing, no, that actually was a gift that helped me really move forward and excel in dental school and be able to relate to my patients. So it's I've been fortunate in that way too. And I could think of so many more people now that I'm really kind of diving into it. But
let me ask you just a quick question about the diabetes research.
Yeah.
How has that impacted your practice of dentistry and your conversations with patients about whole health issues beyond their teeth?
Yeah, I think that for a long time, dentistry remained kind of a separate category from medicine. It either seemed to a lot of people like a luxury, which I don't believe. I believe it's a necessity. And I think a lot of people thought, oh, I go to the doctor and I go to the dentist when something bothers me. I think that's kind of the old school of thought, or single tooth dentistry, where you're treating, number 19 and not a whole person. But research shows us, that heart disease, diabetes, I'm talking to dentists, I don't even need to go into any of that, but patients really lack an understanding in that. And so being able to articulate to patients, I don't only care about the way your smile looks or your concern with this tooth, I care about your whole body. And I think that being able to have those conversations allows patients to then say, I maybe need to go see my physician. We had a patient recently who had high blood pressure in the office, had no idea, and immediately admitted to the hospital for 4 days. Wow. So it was a couple of months ago, and he's doing great. But I think it's an important shift in dentistry for people. And so that knowledge, and even just communicating with people, I'm not just going to look at my chart and tell patients what they need. I need to look at, their priorities, their health, all of those things combined.
This, it's estimated that there's a third of the diabetics in America that have not been diagnosed. Mm-hmm. So, and it's a huge population, but when you think about the number of people that have that condition, and one of the first places it shows up is it's in your mouth.
Yep. So
very interesting background on the whole health side of things.
Yeah.
Let's talk about dental school real quick, because there is a story here. No matter your age in dentistry, there is a story here that needs to be told. And you had a very, very unusual experience in dental school that almost not only ended your dental career, but almost ended your life. And so tell us a little bit about that. What did you face in dental school?
Yeah, so I was so excited going into dental school. I kind of not fought my way in, but made it very clear to Marquette I wanted to go there. I was extremely persistent, got in, couldn't be more excited about the career choice I had made, and was going through my first year, feeling stressed and great, as you do. And getting into finals in December of 2012, I started just not feeling well. Dropped some weight, headaches, couldn't lay down, couldn't breathe well laying down. I'd be exercising and would lose my vision and my hearing, and all this. You're trying to go to school, you're trying to keep everything sustained. And at the time, I thought, I'm too busy to go to the doctor. I don't have time to take care of myself because I need to keep doing my studies. That's the most important thing. And so I let this get worse and worse. And, you look back in hindsight, you see, okay, no, she's having major symptoms, right? This isn't just your typical cold or flu. But I was starting to get chest pains. And when I bring it up to people, they thought, oh, you're having anxiety attacks, which going into finals D1 year in dental school, I thought probably.
Easy explanation, wrong explanation, but easy explanation.
And so I thought, that's probably what's going on. I need to keep exercising. I need to keep my regimen of, exercise, study, minimal sleep, probably not taking care of myself in the way that I needed to. And things just got progressively worse, to the point where I think I fell asleep in our biochemistry final. I don't remember it that well. My lab partner, kept trying to wake me up. Something's going on here. And made it all the way through finals. And just stop me, Steve, anytime, by the way, if you have a question.
Go for it.
Made it through finals and was getting together with some classmates, still not feeling great. My now husband at the time was living in an apartment nearby in right upstairs. And he took me to the airport. I was coming home for Christmas to visit my family. And he just said, we had been together a few years. We met in college. He said, you're just not looking good. Something's going on. And I thought, I'm just run down. I'm tired. I just need to get home and get some good rest. And so he said, okay. And even a classmate who's now a Crown Council member in the Young Dentist group with me, she said, something's off. I got to get checked when I get home. So I thought, I'll rest, see my family. I'll make a convenient doctor appointment, at some time that's going to fit right into my schedule. And got home and got in the car. And on the plane, I've never, though, felt sicker. spent the poor man next to me. I was like sweaty, migraines, just started falling apart, and got in the car and I couldn't even talk to my parents. And for anyone who knows me and is listening, they realize that's not a problem. So, yeah, I then got home. I was staying at my room at my parents' place, and went to sleep. Thought, I'll just sleep this off. Like I was 23 at the time, so like you think you can. And got up in the middle of the night and was getting sick, and thought I must have the flu. That must be what's going on. I was stressed, after finals, I got the flu. And then I woke up to my dad had just woken up at 2 a.m. and found me on the bathroom floor. And I guess I had like a mini seizure and passed out. And so he thought, like, thank goodness, he's a dentist and medical professional. And he said, something's wrong. Let's just take you in. I was a little resistant. I thought I just need some rest, maybe some NyQuil, I'll go right to sleep. And I said, no, let's go. So I went with him to, I believe my mom was there. It's all sometimes a little, not feeling very well. We went to the community hospital first, and I'll never forget, the doctor just looked at me, and his face, he just said, I don't know what's going on. If she has the flu, let's just give her fluids. They started pumping me with fluids, and things just started getting progressively worse. So they brought in a lot of other doctors. They thought maybe I was having, I had infectious disease. They brought in a CDC type specialist, cardiologist, bacterial specialist. And that's the night that I met my now cardiologist, who I really appreciate, obviously. And he made the decision we need to transfer to a better or a bigger, facility. So got in the ambulance from there. And at this point, I was just not feeling very well. Really, getting sick. My blood pressure was all over the place, from really high to plummeting down to, I think at the worst point, it was 40/20. Whoa. My ejection fraction, which on a healthy young person is, 65, 40 is heart failure. At the worst point, I was down to like 17, which you shouldn't even be able to survive. But I made it to the second hospital, Good Samaritan, and there they said, it is not looking good for her. They told my parents that they didn't think that I was likely going to make it through the night, and if I did, that I was going to need a heart transplant. And so they said, we need to get her up to Stanford Hospital, where we can put her on an external heart and we can get her the help that she needs there. So they said, for now, let's get her a temporary pacemaker. I was on all kinds of pressors and medication, like 4 of those poles, just full of different things. Fairly coherent, like I can remember it, and I remember talking to people, but I remember also not feeling very well, and they took me into the cath lab to get the pacemaker, and there I coded. And I didn't know the details of this until a couple years later, because I asked the cardiologist about it, because I can kind of remember it, but then you always wonder, are those kind of fragment memories or dreams or different things. And I remember having the pacemaker lead kind of what happened was it got displaced, and then I coded for almost a minute. And I remember them getting everything ready to defibrillate me, because I asked the doctor and he said you shouldn't be able to know or remember that. And poor guy, his assistant told me later, he just walked out of the room and started crying, because he just said he was traumatized. I think I'm probably doing better than he is as far as trauma from hell. But he saved me in that moment. He got the pacemaker back in. They almost immediately after that got me on a helicopter. Only time I've been on a helicopter, so that's on my list to do in a
helicopter ride.
More fun sense. But I remember the whole time could sense everyone's stress around me. I could sense the doctor's stress. I didn't feel that stressed. I kept trying to make jokes. I made a joke about the show The Bachelor, which if that was like the last thought or last words I had, that would have been really sad. Um, So, because they're always, if you watch that show, they're always on helicopters. So I shouldn't watch that show, but I used to. And so they, put me on the helicopter, brought me to Stanford, and got me ready for a transplant. And a few days into being at Stanford, my own heartbeat came back and started battling the pacemaker. And they don't have a great explanation for why that happened or how that happened. I could give you kind of my thoughts on, for me, why, I feel like that happened for me. But it was truly kind of a miracle situation. My mom said the resident or the fellow ran out of the room, and, I could feel it. I mean, I was so pale, and I could feel, even my husband says that, he's like, you were like sheet white, and then all of a sudden you had color in your face again. And so my family that year spent Christmas at Stanford. We got like a little foam tree, and it was nice because we were just together. And it was great in that way. So
still to this day, no idea of what caused all this.
They think what caused it was they know it was a viral infection. And so when I was at the middle hospital, I remember my cardiologist coming up to mainly my parents, because I think at that point they defer decisions to other people. And he said, I have this kind of controversial treatment, and if it's bacterial, it could potentially kill her. And if it's what I think it is and viral, it could potentially save her. And it was really high dose steroids with some other things. And
so, you decide, mom and dad, which direction.
Yeah, and he said, I think this is what I encourage. And so we went for that. And even I remember the cardiologist coming in and talking to me before my parents about the prognosis of where I was at. And he's a little bit blunt, and I'll never forget, he walks in and he just goes, so Erin, things are not looking good. I was like, yeah, I figured. And he said, if you don't turn a corner soon, we're definitely going to have to intubate you. And I was like, I would rather not, And then he said, and I'm not quite sure if you're going to make it.
He said that to you?
But he's just so, I love this man. He's just like, you have to just like do your best to survive it. He's like, just keep breathing, like just keep being alive. And I just said, okay. And I remember telling him, like, just don't tell my mom. I didn't want him to tell my mom that. And I think when he went out to deliver that news, I heard this later too. My now husband was in the bathroom and came out, and everyone was crying, and he thought I had passed away.
Wow.
And we were just dating at the time, but I think then we got married like a year after this. So I think that in those moments you kind of realize the what you want in life and the important things in life. And I was fortunate because I had a strong family around me and people coming to see me. And I've always had really kind of a positive outlook. I think if I've just always been kind of blessed with that attitude and was raised that way. And to not feel stressed and not feel upset or sad that I was almost dying, but more letting the desire to live and the excitement for life outweigh the fear, which is not always how I feel. I'm scared of a lot, like heights, I'm scared of a lot of things. But letting that positivity outweigh, I think, is what helped save me. Not having the stress, being able to rely on the people around me. There's other things in my life, like my faith and all of that, that I was able to lean on. But I think just having that peace about me and that attitude of just like accepting what's happening, but not letting that, not becoming a victim of what I think is going on, I think was something that was really important in that time. So
it's fascinating to me that you you picked up on the stress of the people around you.
Yes.
That even though you were probably in a semi-conscious state, that was you picked up on their emotion, what was going on.
Yeah, and I think at that moment, those emotions were probably more important to me than how I was feeling about it. Even throughout the recovery, I could see that. I think that different people in my life, family, friends, are probably affected in ways either more or as much as I was. And so having to kind of also give people some grace afterwards to be like, this isn't something that just happened to me, right? This is something that affected a lot of people's lives. And so I'm not it's not like, oh, I'm a victim of this and everyone come support me. It's kind of a group effort of some trauma happened. Physically, I was maybe the one who was hit by it, but how can we then grow? And it's brought a lot of us closer together. So it's, it's in certain ways a blessing, but there's a lot of like life lessons and things I've
tell
learned.
us about that. What have been, you've reflected on this, you've had several years to reflect on what have been, for you, what have been the biggest life lessons?
Yeah, so I think there were lessons that came out of the, event itself, but also lessons for me, especially with the recovery. And I think just to kind of like touch on that, after I got out of the hospital, I was, before I was really active, running half marathons, could pretty much do things if I wanted to go hike 6 miles, I could go do it. And I had trained myself to be able to do those things, and those were things I enjoyed to do. And I remember when I left the hospital, this really sweet older nurse gave me a pamphlet of like activities that were appropriate. And it was like bingo and shuffleboard. And I remember, and it was really cute because I could tell that this was a speech that she normally gives to like 90-year-old people. And I'm an old soul. My parents tell me that all the time. My husband tells me that, I'm like, can you tape the news? And he's like, no one under the age of 70 should say that. But yeah. And so I think getting home and, not being able to go do anything, I would walk halfway down the block and need to come back and lay down for an hour. I would like take a shower and then need to nap for 2 hours. And so thinking at that point, it was really touch and go on whether I'd be able to go back to school. And this is, as my lifelong dream, on whether I'd be able to do anything I wanted to do, could I have kids, like all these things that you kind of expect your life to go a certain direction. And then you feel like, no, I'm going in this direction now. And I think I was always before this kind of a, someone who liked control. I like schedules. I like to know what's coming next. I like to know 5 years out for the office and thinking 10 years ahead, but knowing things happen sometimes. And okay, how do we reshift that and maybe still be able to reach a really important goal, but maybe just give ourselves some patience along the way. And so as far as when I was sick, for me, exercise was that way. I would then, okay, well, let me get up to walking 5 minutes. Let me get up to, once a year or two out, let me run a minute and walk 5. And that sounds so slow and boring as far as a path to where I want to be. It's been almost 7 years now, and I'm finally up to running about 4 or 5 miles, just super slow. You could probably, like a turtle could walk the pace of my running pace. But it's exciting. I'm back to reaching goals that I would want to achieve. And I try to bring these lessons into, my schooling and in my practice. And for me, my attitude about school and dentistry and work changed completely after all of this. I used to get really worked up, or I'd stay up all night if I felt like, oh, I maybe don't know this well enough, or I'd beat myself up if I got a grade that felt like it wasn't good enough. And after I got sick, if I get, a grade back, or maybe now if the treatment, if something I do and it just doesn't feel maybe as, 100% perfect as what I'd want, I just take a step back and say, well, then how can I learn this? How can I be better at it? And then, talk to the appropriate people, like in school. Let me go talk to the professor. Let me do better next time. And then I always would joke with my husband. I don't think he likes when I say this, but I say, well, it's not as bad as heart failure. I have this perspective that I can always, if I could come back from that and be doing what I'm doing,
You got nothing to complain about, dude.
I can get a grade on a test I'm not happy about and do better next time. And that's good, right? That's moving forward. That's progressing. And I sometimes get overwhelmed too with the office, and I'm fortunate to have my dad because he's really great about saying, we just need to take each day at a time and have big goals, but know that we're just moving in the right direction.
Yes.
I sometimes want things to be done tomorrow. we're remodeling an office. We're doing a lot ourselves, which is fantastic because I'm learning it a lot. And I would, I want it all to be done tomorrow. And he says, well, we're going to, we went in and we painted and we did some things, and that's a step forward. And patients are excited about it, and I can be excited about it. And it just allows us to have the right attitude, and I think allow our team, with grace with getting things done, but still be moving in a good direction. I just never want to be stagnant, or complacent. I want to always be moving into a good place. So
how you mentioned this, how has it impacted patient care for you, and how you practice and how you interact with your patients?
For me, I think I don't tell my patient's story, my story often, because I think that'd probably be inappropriate. Some of them know, because my dad was working at the office when everything was going on. So there was some, rescheduling, or their family friends, people from our church. But I think for me, just having that empathy with people and knowing that, while I think my treatment plan is really important, I think their oral health is extremely important, and I take that very seriously. We have patients that also may be going through cancers, or may have just lost a spouse, or be going through other things in their life. And, they maybe are a little bit overwhelmed with all of that. And so being able to talk to them about my recommendations and why I'm recommending them, with still really giving priority to the things that are taking control of their maybe emotional or financial or physical life, I think people really pick up on that and appreciate that. And it allows people to then get the treatment that they need to get done in a way that incorporates into their life, and they feel comfortable, and it doesn't feel like we're ignoring this whole side of them.
Sure.
And so I think that's kind of the main thing. And just, I think, having a positive attitude and knowing, hey, we can take care of this. We can do this for you. And if I can't, then always, getting help from other doctors, referrals, advice, and just providing the best thing I can. That's what I want to be doing. So.
Fantastic. Amazing story. You have a lot to be grateful for, and you have a unique perspective that gratefully most of us do not have. Probably.
Yes, it's one of those things you never wanted to happen to yourself or anyone else. But I think I've told people this, you kind of learn your character in those moments, and you learn, are you going to be a victim of life happening to you? Or are you going to, when things happen in life, are you going to be able to learn from it, move forward, and become a better, stronger, more optimistic person? So I think you go one or two ways, and it does show you who you are a little bit. But I think we can help ourselves learn to be that better person without having to go
Because they
through it.
say you met your other self.
Yes. Yeah.
Shift gears real quick with me, and tell us about your experience going through the Crown Council Young Dentist Program.
So far, it has been awesome. I am super excited for June and July. We're going to be doing a veneer case with Dr. Hornbrook, and I think it's just going to be fantastic. I've been telling all my patients about it. I'm sure they're really tired of me talking about how excited I am about learning about veneers. But I think that it is cool, though, seeing patients get excited about the classes we're doing and us learning. But as far as for me, having a network of other young doctors, and also just, mentors who have more experience than us in the Crown Council, has been huge. I think dentistry can be very isolating if it's just you working in an office and you have your team. And I think that's an amazing special relationship, but I think it's very easy to become focused on the stresses of maybe just everyday things, right? Like your overhead or payroll, or as a young dentist being overwhelmed by maybe treatment that's a little bit more unfamiliar to you, or that you haven't done a lot. And so having these other young dentists that you feel comfortably vulnerable with, I think is really important. And then having older doctors too, not older, but a little older than me, more experienced than me, saying, this is some of the things.
Did you accidentally?
Sorry. These are some of the things that I've experienced, and this is how I moved forward. And I think that that's something that's really exciting. So I'm looking forward to learning more about running practice, working well with the team, dentistry, just all of it. And the Young Dentist program combines all of those things and is going to hopefully grow me into a fairly well-rounded dental professional.
Well,
So
you're surrounded by great mentors for sure
Yeah.
that are going to make that happen. And I'll add, you're in the largest young dentist class that we've ever had. You're surrounded
was amazing.
dozens and dozens of other dentists, which is really exciting, and some great mentors. So for those that are listening that may not know about the Young Dentist program or want to know more, it's youngdentistprogram.com is the website. You can learn more about that, and we update that all the time as the class progresses through the different weekends that we have together. So we're excited for you to experience the whole thing.
Yes, I highly recommend it to you, young dentists. Don't feel like you have to wait. Don't say, oh, I need to wait 4 years to get some of my clinical skills honed in. No, keep working on those and jump in, because opportunities don't come along all the time like this, and it's truly exciting. So take advantage of it.
Great program. Erin, thank you for sharing your experience with us today. You're a hero to all of us to have gone through everything that you've gone through and literally came out of it alive, which is a miracle, and went back and finished dental school and now practicing with your mentor and your dad. And I am sure there is not a day that goes by that you don't wake up and are grateful that you are alive.
Yes, no, you're exactly right. It's a gift.
Thanks so much for sharing your experience with us today. Congrats on being the Young Dentist of the Year this year, and good luck as you go through that entire experience. It is a game changer, and we're excited to have you on board.
Sounds great. Thank you, Steve.
Thanks, Erin.